right, race fans, Ryan Ahill and the one and only Bert Lehman bringing you episode 70. I had to take a look, Bert, 77. We're at 77. Scott Lawrence number, or Jordan Yagi, or whoever you want to call him, Dave Bjorgi from back in the day. Who else do you know that was 77? There's got to be a couple good ones.
Chris Paulrus,
there you go.
Late model driver from the 1980s.
There you go.
At Speedway.
I think we need to do that every time. We should have started at one, because now we're going to get into all hundreds.
Well, one of the things when I would go racing with one of my friends in his pit crew while we were in the hauler driving to races, we would play the racer's number game, and you had to go through the numbers and name a driver for that number.
Yeah, we did that a lot. I won every single time. I was with my friends. I always wanted that. I remember a buddy of mine, Lauren Inman. We used to play that, me, him, and Nick. We used to kind of do that once in a while. And another game we played on the way to long trips, we'd play the alphabet game, right? We'd be driving down the road, and you'd have to look for a sign with A on it, and then you go to the next one with B. That's the kind of stuff we did, Bert, before there was cell phones, right? Because now everybody, they got their phone on, they're looking at stuff. But back in the day when we were traveling, and I'm sure you were traveling with folks too, it's like, we got to either have conversations or we got to come up with something creative. And so I remember playing the alphabet game many, many times. And I used to memorize where the signs were with the letter Q on it and Z on it, so I could win every time. And being that I traveled more than most, I usually won that game. So
traveling with MJ McBride and his pit crew, we played sheep's head in the hauler. And I mean, we played for money. So, I mean, it was very competitive. And I remember one time somebody tried paying with Canadian coins, and and somebody took the coins and threw them out the window then.
And that's the thing. People are listening to us now. They're going, what are they talking about? We just watch a video on our phone, right? It's like, we didn't have that luxury. I remember making many trips, and there was no cell phones back a long time ago, especially when my dad raced. That just wasn't a thing. So you either had to have a conversation with the person next to you or come up with something creative. So yeah, so we'll have to do that moving forward. So it was kind of fun with that 77. But of course, this episode 77 brought to you by our friends over in Watertown, South Dakota. Ron, Trevor, and the gang over there at Dirt Track Supply, home of the Aero chassis. And I was talking to a buddy of mine that runs a street stock, and he's all ready to go. Todd Carter, he's ran many Aero chassis up there, and he said, man, them guys got great service. And of course, good buddies of mine, Jay and Trajan Schmidt. Trajan's running a super stock, and Ron takes good care of them as well. So just a great group of folks. If you need parts, if you need service, whatever it is, get a hold of them guys, because they've been around racing for a long time. And not that people that haven't been, that are in a parts service, are bad, but they've been around racing for so long, Bert, that they just know what people are looking for. They know the kind of service people need, second to none. So give them guys a call, and let's get into it. We had I was going to say we had a lot of racing this weekend. We did not have a lot of racing this weekend. That Mother Nature's kind of getting ahead of herself here, but it started on Thursday night. I guess it would be considered night number 2 of the Castrol Flow Racing in America series. I think it's like an 11-race series. I think they're taking the best 7 out of 11. Mm-hmm. They were down at Atomic. And Bert, did you get a chance to take a look at that race?
Yeah, I watched the heats and the feature, and that was some really good racing. I got to say that. And one thing I do like about Flow's coverage for this event, I mean, they go above and beyond with this event because they're putting on this series and stuff. But one thing when you watch streamed races, you're reliant on the cameraman to catch the action. And one thing with these Thursday night races is they have multiple cameras. So they'll have two screens, or, two action screens on your running at the same time that you can watch. And I really like that because, you want to know what the leader's doing, but you a lot of times the best action is taking place behind the leader, and you like to watch that also. So, they do a good job with that. So, but yeah, the racing was really good. And I mean, one of my first impressions was I don't think Davenport is necessarily a fan of Hudson O'Neal.
Yeah, the thing is, he's used his quarter panel a time or two as well back in the day. But yeah, there might be something to that.
I mean, I don't think Hudson O'Neal did anything wrong, but he was doing a lot of sliders on JD. And when JD had the opportunity to do a slider, he really didn't do a slider. He just kind of pushed him up the track and then drove by him.
Well, he said the same thing about Pierce, right? Because JD actually took the lead, and then Moran was saved by the bell, so to speak, right? The yellow come out. Well, then immediately following that restart, he started trading sliders with Bobby Pierce, and he's like, well, as soon as we got done slide jobbing each other, I could actually put it in high gear, because then that slide job best back and forth per second allowed Moran to stretch it out, and that was it. I mean, there just wasn't enough time for JD to have really another run at the lead at the end of that race. And he was a little frustrated. He's like, oh, man. And it is what it is. I mean, you're going to try to – I don't care if you're in eighth. You're going to try to pass a guy for seventh. If you're in third, you're going to try to pass a guy for second. And actually the sliders were pretty clean with him and Pierce, but it kind of took him out of contention. Moran, of course, getting the win. And come to find out, Bert, it's his second win this year that paid over 20 grand.
Yep.
I think he had one that was 20. This one was 22. Another podium finish for JD. Pierce looked pretty good with the cushion.
He won the one at Bristol, wasn't that 25?
Yep, you're right. That was 25. Yep, I stand correct. That's why we got best color guy in the industry right here, Bert. We got him here for a reason. So you're exactly right. But I tell you, I wouldn't say a huge car count. And I think the weather scared a few people away. There was snow on the ground in the morning at Atomic.
Yeah, that's what they said.
Yeah, they said it was not real warm, right? And I kind of chuckle because, you're from, I guess, Wisconsin, eastern Wisconsin. I'm from northern Minnesota, and I hate the cold, too. I really do. I hate it, but them guys don't even know what cold is, right? They have absolutely no idea. But you're right. I think that's been great coverage for that deal. There's just so much more than just racing. Plus, if you watch it after the fact, you can fast forward through I think they had like 10 or 11 cautions, because the over and under on the bet was 8.5, and this time it was over. So there's plenty of cautions that you can kind of fast forward right through. So great coverage there. Hopefully these track promoters kind of step up the game a little bit, because there's so much out there we can watch that we just don't need to go to a racetrack, especially if it's cold. And I know that we'll talk about that in just a little bit. So let's get into the World of Outlaw late models. And, of course, night two, we'll just jump right to that. Night two rained out again, right? So we got one night of World of Outlaw late models in. That was down at Richmond, Kentucky. And in my mind, the track was it was pretty dry, really slow. But it was actually pretty racy for like the first half or just past the halfway mark. Kind of the guy that stuck out to me, Bert, in that whole race, the Silver Shark, Scott James. He put it up on the high side. He advanced a ton of positions. I think he got up to third in that deal. So I think he drove right up there, and he's kind of one of the only guys that really made a lot of movement. What stuck out to you with the World of Outlaws?
Well, I would say, first let me start with this. I mean, that is definitely a unique track. I mean, it's a small track, and not necessarily small in the way around the track. It's really narrow. Mm-hmm. And I mean, actually, it seemed like the straightaways were more narrow than the corners were. It's probably a track that's not real conducive to late model racing, but I mean, they made the best of it. And yeah, I mean, Scott James, I believe he started 8th, and he got up to 3rd using the high lane. And then all of a sudden, just as he was getting to Chris Madden jumped up to the high side, and Madden said afterwards that his crew guy was motioning him to get up there. And, and same thing happened to McCready, who was leading it. He was on the bottom, and then McCready said his crew guy was just furiously trying to get him to go to the top for a bit. And but then it locked down after like 20 laps. And I mean, McCready got caught in traffic, but he didn't even try to pass the cars because nobody was going to pass on the outside at that point. So, McCready got the win. I did see Daryl Lanigan did have a ride for that race. He was in Boom Briggs's backup car, I believe.
Yeah, so, I don't remember where he finished. I feel like it was pretty deep in that deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't know where he finished either. I know one of the 99s pulled off the track. I don't know if that was him or Boom. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, another race where a non-World of Outlaw driver won the Outlaw race.
Well, and T-Mac, that's a win this week and a win last week, of course, with the Lucas Oil Series. So he doesn't seem to have a lot of races, but he's been running good. And the stick signals, right? I mean, that saved Madden. There's no question about it because Scott James was right up to him. And next thing you know, he did like a two, there's not 3 lanes at that place, but he turned hard right and went right to the top. So I heard the rumors, Bert, them stick signals work a lot better if you don't throw them out onto the racetrack like the guy did last week. So good. It locked down, it did, but I think there was some pretty good racing. And it was good to see Ricky Weiss up in the top 5. He got a 4th place finish in that deal, so it's good to see that. Brent Larson, that might have been his best finish of the year. I think it was. I don't count that one where they split the fields. Best points finish, right? Because there was no even not that Cherokee. Even if we joke about it, but there was no points for that race. But this was a good points night for him. He got 6th place in that deal, so that was good to see. And then Sunday, so the Lucas Oil stuff rained out, right? The USMTS rained out. Like pretty much almost all of the WISSOTA racing rained out. So we did have on Sunday, Bert, this was hyped up. Not quite as much as Bristol was hyped up, but they did a really good job promoting this deal. The return to the West Virginia Motor Speedway. And they had that on Sunday on Flow. And, I'll let you talk. I know you watched that race. What stuck out to you there? And I got a few things that really stuck out to me from that event.
That is a huge track. I mean, I thought Shawano Speedway was a big track, but I mean, Shawano's a small track compared to West Virginia Motor Speedway. But
so Jeff said, I'm going to cut you off there for a sec. Jeff goes, the only thing worse than half-mile tracks, 5/8 mile tracks. That's what he said. It's like half miles can be kind of boring, which we'll talk about Shawano. I'm telling you, there was some good racing there this Saturday night, but that 5/8, it's crazy as big and kind of strung out as it was. It was pretty entertaining. So go ahead, Bert. Sorry for cutting you off.
Yeah, I mean, and I believe they said that they got quite a bit of rain, in a short amount of time, the day before the race. Overall, I think the track held up pretty good. I mean, there was definitely some ruts and stuff in it. And when a track has the speed like that, those ruts can do some damage. And Tyler Erb experienced that at the end on what was it, 2 laps to go? Something like that.
So yeah, there wasn't much to go. It's crazy because in the heat race, JB was gone. I mean, he had the heat race won. He got a flat tire, and I think only 4 cars finished the heat. It was a pretty light field anyway. I think there was like 17, 18 cars somewhere in that neighborhood total. But from what I understand is even with his flat tire, he got 5th in the heat. So he started 9th in the feature. I'm like, well, how did he get a flat and start 9th? Well, I think only 4 cars finished that heat race. So he started 9th. So he drives right up to the front and, they're kind of battling there. And Moran actually is leading the race. And actually Davenport caught him. Davenport was there. I mean, it was going to be probably a pretty good race. But Moran on a yellow tire goes down. Well, then on that same yellow, I didn't happen to see. It didn't look like Davenport had a flat, did it? I mean, it looked like he just went in and changed tires. Did he have a right rear flat?
I don't know if it was flat or not, but I mean, he went in and changed tires. And so, I mean, they both changed tires, and within a lap or so, they were back in the top 3.
Yeah, well, basically, so Turbo got the lead. And what happened then is they got put back on the lead, basically the tail end of the lead lap. So that was either 5th and 6th, I think, is what it was. So there was only 6 cars on the lead lap. So it's not like they got put very far back, and they drove right to the front. And boy, I would have thought on a rough, tacky, kind of a one-lane track, I'm like, Turbo's going to win this deal. There's no doubt. How can he not win this deal, right? And well, he was gonna, and I think there was maybe 2 laps left. That's about what there was, right?
Yeah.
So it looked like he had it in hand, and the hub broke. The tire fell off. So you have the 3. I mean, really, there was 3 cars there. Everybody else was kind of like also there, and that's one of those deals where you can have a low car count and 3 quality cars can make a race, right?
Right.
And next thing you know, Davenport inherits the lead. It's like, holy cow, this is just mass chaos. And in the interview, so Davenport got win number 9. And looking at the money earnings, Bert, we're not even to the end of April. Well, we will be by the weekend. He's at like 140,000 in winnings already. So that's a pretty good start to the season. He is overwhelmingly the number 1 money earner in late model racing. There can't be anybody even close, is there? I would say Moran with a couple, over 122 and 125. Would you say maybe he's second? Because there's not anybody else that's really been winning a bunch of big races, is there?
Yeah, not off the top of my head that I can think of.
Overton's got 8 wins, but I think a lot of them were like $5,000. I mean, which nothing to sneeze at, but it's not 50 like the one that
right.
That JD won over at Bristol. So with that said, he got interviewed. So all this mayhem, flat tires, wheels falling off. I think it was Freddie Carpenter. I'm not sure, but somebody's header was laying on the track.
I did hear that, yes.
Yeah, I think it was Carpenter. So it's like, okay, so if somebody's header falls off, Bert, no, I raced for a long time. Trust me, you can hear when that's happening. Like, something's wrong. Like, you can tell, right? What kind of person stays out there long enough? I'm just going to keep going until a header falls off. It's like,
well,
really?
That's not good for the motor, is it?
No. I'm thinking his engine builder probably was not real happy with that. Now, I will say this. So, not a fan of 5/8 mile tracks. I'm just not. But the crowd was amazing. I mean, it was incredible. I don't know how many thousands of people were there, but that place was absolutely jam-packed. So the one thing they did really well is they promoted the heck out of that deal. And I mean, it was probably near a capacity crowd at that place. So that was a pretty exciting deal. They're coming back there in June. I know there's a double header. It's $10,000 to win day 1, $30,000 to win day 2, coming back there, about a month from now, a little over a month from now. So those are hopefully the track's in better shape. I would think it would be. But they raced on a long time. They had all that rain, but overall, it gave us something to do on Sunday that was actually fairly exciting. So sprint cars, Keith, we didn't forget about you, buddy. We didn't forget about you. There was some sprint car racing. So we'll dial it back a little bit, Bert. 5/8 mile, we'll kind of come back down to one of them small tracks, one of them half-mile deals, right? One of them small tracks, a little bull ring deal, Bristol. And I don't know. We're going to get into this a little bit. So David Gravel doubled up. Well, let's not even talk about Friday because literally everybody will fall asleep because it was absolutely, in my opinion, it was pretty uneventful Friday. There was just not much happened. Saturday, there was a little bit of drama at the end of that deal. Did you watch any of the World of Outlaw sprint car stuff, Bert?
Yeah, I watched the highlight package of both of the features, and yeah, I agree. Friday night wasn't. The track was bone dry. I mean, when I say bone dry, it was bone dry. It was black, like it was at like the dirt wasn't on the track anymore. Right.
Yeah, it was uneventful at best. But Saturday, so I'll start with this. Donnie Schatz looked pretty good. He ended up getting second in that deal, and he kind of put some battles on. He actually challenged Gravel there when Gravel was in second. He kind of challenged him a little bit and just wasn't able to complete the pass. And it really looked like Logan Schuchart's got her done. They take 2 laps to go, and all of a sudden Schuchart goes to the bottom, and Gravel gets by him. And I'm thinking I think his car must have fluttered there because as they took the white flag and come on the back straightaway, his car shut right off. He ran out of fuel. So that's not a good deal. That's another thing that you might lean some things out. You start running out of fuel. That's not a good deal for sure. But he obviously, there's another guy. That's another race. Two, we just talked about West Virginia. This one right here, I mean, it should have been won by Schuhart, who I picked. I didn't pick him for the second day. I picked him for the first day, so it wouldn't have counted either way. But he's pretty good in them half miles. I mean, he's really good on those. It'll be interesting to see what he can do at Knoxville. But Gravel got the win in that deal. I was really happy to see Donnie Schatz run well. I mean, we've been kind of I've been dogging him a little bit. Like he's just kind of an also ran lately, and he's been one away from 300 all year long. And as a racer, it's like he's not going there to get 300, but I guarantee he's getting sick of people asking him about it. So I'm just super excited for him to get that done sooner rather than later. But I don't know. I mean, it could be a long time. I just don't think he's the guy to beat anymore. So, I mean, what's your thoughts there on Schatz?
Well, I mean, as I was watching that feature and he was, in the top three and, challenging, I thought, oh, because we didn't have very high hopes for him at Bristol. I mean, although I picked Brad Sweet to win both nights, and I think Friday or one of the two nights, he wasn't anywhere to be seen. He was out of the top 10. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, Schatz isn't. I mean, you're not going to the track thinking that he's going to win every race. I mean, now he's to the point where, as a fan, you're hoping that he gets a win here and a win there. He's not. Yeah, his seasons of doing double digit wins and that sort of thing are probably over.
Yeah, I don't see it. Now maybe the old man can surprise us. We'll find out. Speaking of old man, Jack Hodenschild, the wild child, he had the old vintage 22 car out there, the yellow 22. That was kind of cool. I think he was running that for Rico Abreu. I'm pretty sure he was driving that for. And let's talk about Bristol just a little bit, because you mentioned a couple weeks ago on a show, you're like, I'm just looking forward to get done. It's like it's just on and on and on and on and on. And Jeff said, "Man, if I hear the last, or what was it? The last Great Coliseum. If I hear that one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind, right? Because it's like, it's a great atmosphere, right? The facility is amazing. I mean, it's a really cool deal to be able to race there. But quite honestly, it's not good racing, in my opinion."
Yeah, I mean, I was really looking forward to Bristol, watching races there. But, you had that week-long event where you had all those cars racing, and then you had the weekend with the NASCAR following that. And then a few weeks later, you had the World of Outlaw late models. And then a few weeks later, you had the World of Outlaw sprint cars. And so, yeah, it was a cool concept, but I think it got dragged out too far.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question, Bert. I got a question for you on that. Next year, they're planning on putting dirt on it again. Okay. Is it going to be worse or better? I'm talking as far as fan count, cars attending the events. Obviously, if it's World of Outlaws, you get all the woo guys there, right? But with the Bristol Dirt Nationals, it was pretty well, I guess, attended this year. But do you think maybe it burnt itself out and people just aren't going to be as excited next year to go back as much as they were this year?
Well, I mean, for the week-long event where they had all those different divisions, I know, especially the racers from Eastern Wisconsin that went down there, a lot of them, they said, well, it's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. I have to go race there. But if they have it again next year, it's not a once-in-a-lifetime deal. So, do they go back? And then especially since, some of the drivers drove all that way, spent the entire week there, and didn't get to race all the races that they were promised they were going to be able to race in. So they didn't qualify for the feature because they didn't get as many opportunities as what they thought they were going to get. So it'll be, I'm not sure if they'll get the car count that they had before. And the fact that the Outlaws raced there on a week when Lucas changed their schedule so the Lucas drivers could race, and a lot of the Lucas drivers didn't even go race. So I don't necessarily think it's that high on drivers' wish lists to go back there.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, there's some drivers that see them posting on Facebook. I hope they do this again. I'm going back, but then I've seen probably more of them say, hey, we did it. We've been there. We've done that. We did it. It's great. Okay, now we'll just focus our attention on the tracks in our area. So it'll be interesting to see. It's one of those deals where anything that's a novelty like that, you don't want to wear that novelty out. I mean, you got to just quit beating the dead horse is kind of what you got to do. But we'll find out next year. Well, it sounds like you're going to do it again.
And I mean, I think, and I can't take credit for this because one of the when they have their roundtable discussion on Dirt, one of their writers suggested this: if they ran the World of Outlaws the same weekend as the NASCAR weekend, you know, combine NASCAR and the dirt late model world together and have races on the same weekend, you know, that would create some buzz.
It would, and it would really come down to, are they limited on attendance once we get past this COVID stuff? Because of course, Florida, right? You know, that's kind of the deal with the speed weeks at Volusia. You know, Volusia does so well because there's how many people that come in for the Daytona 500. Well, this year there was no fans at the Daytona 500. The fan count at Volusia was way down compared to normal, and really that's kind of goes hand in hand. So knock on wood, we get back to full attendance. They have as many fans as they want. If they tied that together, like you're saying, that could be a really good deal. But first of all, I guess first things first, we got to get back to
right
attendance on everything before we cross that bridge. So that's enough with Bristol, but we'll talk about another half mile. And I got in my notes here, Bert is too old for the cold. His home track of Shawano opened, they opened last week. He went. This week it was chilly and not so much. He didn't go. Thank God for Mike's videos, right? Because you were able to jump on and watch all the racing action. And I was able to do the same thing. But, I'll let you kind of talk about it. I got a few things that stuck out to me, but the late model racing, I'll just start with this, was okay. It was okay. But the mod in the street stock racing, Bert, or I guess it would be IMCA stock cars.
Stock cars, yeah.
That was a couple of good races.
And that's the weird thing about the Shawano track is sometimes, the late models, they'll race. And I mean, there's some passing, but I mean, there's not a lot of passing. And then the mods and the stock cars will go out there on, the same track, and they'll be going 3-4 wide, passing like crazy. So like this week, I looked at the, my race pass. So, I looked at the results as soon as the race was over, and there wasn't a whole lot of passing in the late model feature. I mean, Nick went from ninth to third.
Yep.
And, but when I watched the race, I did notice there was more passing than what I thought, because some of the drivers, like Justin Ritchie, for example, started on the front row, fell back to fourth at one time, and then got back up to second. So, that doesn't necessarily show up in the final results that he did a lot of passing, but he did do some passing. But yeah, the modified feature, there was a lot of passing, and they were going 4 wide in some places. And Mike Mullen knows how to drive a mod, and he's not afraid to stick that mod wherever he wants to stick it.
That thing was incredible. I mean, I don't know. He started pretty deep. I feel like it was fifth row for him also, but he charged right to the front. And I mean, it didn't matter if he wanted to go high, low, middle, diamond, crossover. It didn't matter. That car went everywhere he wanted to put it, and he just drove right to the front. He put that thing in full kill mode and just drove away. And in the late model, I'm like, what happened to him in the feature? He didn't start the feature. Well, I got to look at it, and he busted a drive shaft in the heat race. So we didn't get to start the feature. But so I got a little grief last week, okay, from Brad. right? And he's like, how can you not have Nick? That's a Western bias, Brad. Like, don't make him start ninth, right? He could have doubled up, right? He had to start ninth. Maybe when he draws, take the big numbers out and let him start in the front couple rows. I don't know if you guys do that over there. I feel like some of the guys I raced against maybe had that advantage. I don't know if he gets that advantage or not. But I told Nick today, I'm like, you realize it's easier to win if you draw better for the feature, right? And he's like, yeah, no doubt about that. And of course, Jared Seifert won, and he started on the front row. And when I looked at it, I'm like, he kind of started on the front row by himself, right? Because Justin Ritchie was next to him, and we know Justin, he don't like to win. He only likes to get second, so he wasn't going to jump out to the lead anyway. We're going to get him fitted up, Bert, for a bridesmaid's dress. Like Justin, we need to get you in victory lane. Like, good run. I mean, he got second. I mean, another podium finish, but man, that it's got to be wearing on him. I mean, even though races, a pair of seconds, he's got to be just itching to get in victory lane and finally get one off his back there.
I mean, I interviewed him before the races on opening night, and I asked him what it would mean to him to win a feature at Shawano Speedway again in the late model division, because he's won many there in the past. I mean, he's a former track champion in the sportsman division and the late model division, and yeah, he's eager to get another win. And yeah, I mean, he's happy with the seconds, but he wants to get a win. Now with Plymouth opening next week, I'm assuming that he's gonna be racing at Plymouth, so he won't be at Shawano. But it was a good win for Jared Seifert because he didn't. He finished set. I think. He qualified for the feature for the Dirt Kings race, but he didn't actually race the feature because he didn't have oil pressure in his motor, in his engine. So to be able to bounce back and get a feature win the following week is a good deal. It kind of takes some of the aggravation away.
Hey, who was the dude that won the IMCA stock car race?
Luke Lemons. Yeah, I thought this was his first ever trip to Shawano Speedway. It's been 9 years since he was at Shawano Speedway, but yeah, he started 11th. He was in the top 3 within the first 5 laps. And
that thing was stuck to the ground, man. I'm telling you, that front end was just buried. That right front was pinned. The left rear is up, and that thing was another guy. He looked just like Mullen did in the mod. He could drive anywhere on the track that he wanted to. That thing had so much grip. I mean, there was a lot of passing in them 2 races. Late models tended to not be quite as much passing anyway. But those 2 classes, there was some pretty good racing over there.
Yeah.
So, Brad, I will get there when it warms up. Okay.
Luke Lemons, I mean, he made the trip to Bristol earlier this year, and he made the comment that after racing Bristol, he wants to race a little bit more on the half miles. But he's a weekly competitor at 141 Speedway, defending track champion, but 141 canceled last weekend, so that's why he was at Shawano. And there were several other 141 regulars who were at Shawano last week also.
They had a pretty good car count at Shawano too.
Yeah,
pretty solid in all classes there. So I'm definitely going to get up there. Now that's enough, I guess, on last week's action. There wasn't really a lot that went on. There was a couple with soda races. I'll just I guess out west, I'll touch on that just a little bit. I know that Cole Searing went out there. We'll talk about him in just a little bit. Midwest Mods, Troy Liker, I have him up second in my power rankings for the Midwest Mods, Bert. He got the lead. The track was rough. The right front bottomed out against the hood and popped the hood up, and it folded up. And underneath yellow, he called an official over, and the official says, yeah, I'll pull your hood off, right? So they pull the guy's hood off, and they said, okay, you got to go in the pits now. You're disqualified. What? So it's like, it's one of those deals. I've never seen that. It's kind of sad. And Eagle Valley, they were supposed to race there now with soda, but they ended up canceling at the last minute. SK.
Really? They canceled?
Eagle Valley canceled. Yeah, they ended up getting rain. So a few of the drivers went over to SK, and probably the race of the week was in the street stocks over there. Boy, I tell you, Bert, I used to watch mostly mods and supers and lates, but the Wissota street stock division is impressive. It's almost like watching the IMCA stock cars, right? I mean, they put on some really good racing. Parker Anderson and Cody Coomer were side by side. It felt like it was forever, but must have been 6 or 7 laps, literally side by side for the lead. And Parker Anderson got him. So that really a good race over there. And in the mods there was passing too. Tyler Cater, he got there late because he was over at Jimtown. He started, I think they only had 7, but he started 7th. He drove right to the front. And he was gone. He broke a fuel pump belt. So he ended up DNFing, and Cole Marshall won it. So there was some good racing to be had, and most everything rained out. But there's a lot on the plate for this week. But before we get into that, so we talked about last week's, I guess, results, but let's give out the Donkey Awards again, right? Because, again, I mean, it just is what it is. There's some real jackasses out there, and they just need to be called out. It is what it is. You do something stupid, you get called out, you get an award. We give you an award for winning. We're going to give you a Donkey Award for being a jackass. It just is what it is. And the first one, and probably the biggest group of them, it's going to be a group award, right, is the Dunn County Board or Fair Board or whoever's involved over there with not letting the Red Cedar Speedway open. Of course, it got rain. It wasn't going to open this Friday anyway, right? But they're in bad shape over there in Menominee. I mean, it is absolutely ridiculous. And I know that you're going to touch on something there, so I'll let you touch on that and I'll comment. But quite frankly, they put together a formula with COVID numbers. Like if you have a certain percentage, and I believe there was only 7 freaking people, right? It was stupid, 7 new cases or whatever, and they weren't able to open the gates because of that. They could, but they couldn't have any fans. Well, you can't run a race without fans. So in my mind, right, on the outside looking in, this is nothing more than a group of people that just doesn't want the racetrack to open. And Bert, you actually texted me about something that you brought up. You know, kind of let the fans here know what's going on over there, because this is ridiculous.
Well, Dunn County posted on their Facebook page that they had received a lot of questions as to why Red Cedar had canceled. They posted this Friday morning, and why Red Cedar had canceled for the evening, and there were questions why the Finetti, is that how you pronounce it, Finetti?
I think
why
so.
Why the Finetti Center could hold events, but Red Cedar Raceway cannot. And according to Dunn County's statement, both facilities are owned by Dunn County, but the Finetti Center is operated by Menominee Youth Hockey under a contract that gives that organization the right to use the building without oversight by the county. So, I mean, if that's true, they got a good deal. And the racetrack, and well, then it states that the racetrack negotiated between the county and the association, and it was agreed upon that the grandstand would be tied to the rate of COVID-19 infections in the county. Unfortunately, the start of the racing season coincided with spring break. So they're blaming spring break, that people traveled, came back up, infected and whatnot. But my thing is, to me, it's a double standard, because you have this facility, you have a racetrack that is outside, but you're letting the Finetti Center have these events. Because if you wanted to, last weekend, the Finetti Center had a rummage sale hosted by Dunn County Humane Society. And I mean, I hope they're very successful, because it's a great cause. You know, no, I have nothing against the Dunn County Humane Society, but you're letting a rummage sale go on for 2 days where people are coming indoors, rifling through stuff, touching stuff, and you're not disinfecting it. And to me, it's just a double standard.
It is, and this is why people get pissed off about this deal, right? That's why it's such a hot topic, because common sense is right out the window with this deal. That's what it is. I mean, I heard numbers as many as 300 people or better that were inside a building for that fundraiser. Well, at the very least, right, they should be able to spread the same amount of people out throughout the grandstands, which is outside. I mean, that in the grandstands is way bigger, right, than what that indoor building is. It just makes no sense. I mean, they can say all day long, well, we don't have any oversight. Yes, you do, right? Yes, you do. Because the county is a county facility. At any point in time, the county can step in and say, we're going to ixnay that. We're not going to let you do that. Now, I don't want to see that happen. It needs to go the other way. because it's just absolutely ridiculous. And every single other place in Wisconsin's open up except for this. And the fact is, there's a certain group of people on that board that have been anti-racing forever. I don't know why. Maybe I have no idea why, what their reasoning is, right? But they've been anti-racing a certain faction of those people for a long time. And this is just their way of saying, well, we win, you don't get to race. Well, what's going to happen? And I don't know how their contract works. I know how contracts work at a lot of fairground tracks where the racetrack pays the fairground X amount a year for rent, right? So if you're looking at that, if you're thinking logically, if you're thinking money, the racetrack being there when it's open is giving money. I don't know how theirs works. I know how it works in Giving and Grand Rapids and stuff like that. But if they're paying rent, that's revenue coming in for the fair board, right? If the racetrack's not there anymore, there's no more rent coming in, right? There is another track in that town, Bert. There's another track in that town. What is it? Thunder? Is it Thunder Alley or Thunder? The go-kart track, right? Chad Cummings owns it. They're already renovating that place to make it a little bit bigger to try to do some creative stuff. I'm here to tell you that if they keep dicking around here, they're just going to say, screw it. And they're going to make that place even bigger. And they're going to move the racetrack. They're going to shut down the Red Cedar Speedway. Maybe that's what they need to do. Maybe they just need to say, you know what? I'm sick of dealing with this nonsense. Let's work out a deal with Chad. Let's make it bigger. Let's make it into an actual racetrack. And let's just move everything right on over there. And I really feel like that's something that could legitimately happen in the next year or two. And maybe it should, because then they wouldn't have to deal with those people anymore.
Yeah, I mean, based on the contract that they have now with the county, I mean, every week they're going to be looking at COVID numbers, and that's going to determine how many people you can allow into the stands. And everybody talks about getting back to normal, and I mean, that's not going to happen overnight. And to be honest with you, I don't know if COVID's ever going to go away. I mean, it's probably going to be around in some fashion,
Well, y'all a bunch of Packer fans over there in Wisconsin. You guys ain't never been normal anyways. So
and so, I just think COVID is something that we're going to have to deal with for at least several more years, because it's not going to just disappear like that. And if a track isn't allowed to run for 2 seasons, that's going to be very difficult to come back from.
It really is. And the winner on this deal for right now is going to be probably Jimtown, right? And SK over there, because they ain't going to have to deal with Menominee. But I just hate it for them. I mean, I really do, because there's a lot of racers. There's a good history of racing there. There's a lot of great people in the area involved with the sport, and they're just getting punched in the teeth. I mean, it's just a bad deal for everyone. So Donkey Award winner number 1 is 100% the board over there. The Dunn County, I guess it would be the Dunn County Fair Board, I believe is what it is. So let's get into, this is something that was interesting. We talk about driver safety, and we heard people say, Brandon Kopp said, this is exactly why people that, they say all the time, well, it's just a Hornet. You don't need to have all that safety stuff. Or it's just a pure stock. You don't need to have all that safety stuff, right? Well, there was an incident down at Tri-County in Brasstown, North Carolina, where a couple of Hornets got together, Bert, and one of them hit the wall opening, like wide open, bounced off it like a pinball, caused a big wreck in the back straightaway. I looked at that. I'm like, oh, my God. My first text on that deal was, is that driver okay? And the driver was okay. But I've seen some nasty, nasty stuff with wall openings right in the middle of the back straightaway. And they're going to get the Donkey Award number 2 for having a very, very unsafe situation for the race car drivers over there. Hopefully they get that fixed. And, I played the clip. I'm actually going to play it again so you can look at this because it's so short. But, I mean, watch this car just, bam, it bounces off that barrier there, Bert, and it was scary. What are the wall openings like, I guess, over in your area? Are they right in the middle of the back straightaway where they pull off, or where do the cars pull on, pull off?
In Shawano, they only have one entry and exit from the track, and that's as you're entering turn 1. I mean, there's been a few instances where cars have hit that. I mean, you have to hit it everything has to align for you to hit it, but I mean, it has happened. All the a lot of the other ones, like 141, you enter the track in turn 4. It's just kind of the opposite of Cedar Lake. It's similar to what Cedar Lake is, and that's how Outagamie is a little bit too. Theirs is a little bit different because you exit off of turn 2, but it's not in the middle of the backstretch.
A track that really has a good situation for you, because I mean, unless you have a tunnel, right? I went to Texas Motor Speedway, and kind of a NASCAR deal is they don't have wall openings, right? They got the tunnel that goes underneath. The dirt track down at the Texas Motor Speedway, you pulled onto the track. I guess it would have been in turn 2, so you kind of pulled onto the track there. So there was a wall opening there, but then you had to go under a tunnel to get out. Well, dirt tracks ain't going to build a tunnel. But Superior, Wisconsin, up at the Gondik Speedway, they used to have it where you exited off of turn 1, and then you come on the track in turn 2. Well, I remember years ago, a guy, Bobby Obermueller, went right through that opening and hit a motorhome. I remember a Superstock guy, Pat Strumble, that went right wide open off the track and literally threw the fence out onto the highway, right? So they got rid of all that, and now you come on the track and off the track in the same spot, which is turn 2. You have to kind of turn up and go off like this, which just makes it a lot safer. And I think a lot of tracks need to maybe take a look at that, because there's been incidents in Fargo where people have lost their life. And, I saw a deal in I-94 last year where Timmy Johnson ended up upside down in the Superstock, and it was close. I thought he was going to hit that wall opening coming in. I thought he was going to hit that deal, and he didn't. But, we talk about all the safety aspects in the car. Maybe they need to look at these situations and go, what can we do for driver safety here? Because all it takes is one time for something bad to happen, and that's all it takes, and I wouldn't want it to be me. So that's my thoughts on that. Bert, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. Tracks need to be very concerned about safety. I can't remember which late model race it was, if it was the Atomic Speedway or the West Virginia, but it was in the heat race. Did you see there's no fencing on the backstretch, but then they have fencing as you enter the corner, and a late model got sideways, got off the track a little bit, and almost ripped the whole rear end off as he hit the concrete entering the corner.
I don't remember which one. I remember seeing it. I don't remember which one it was, but I do remember seeing that. So yeah, it's just some little things. And, I've been to tracks where you look at their fencing and you're like, that ain't going to stop a car, right? I mean, like,
well, that's what I kind of thought when I was watching that World of Outlaw race this last week, because, I mean, up around our area, there's not many tracks that have guardrails anymore. Most of them have either concrete walls or concrete block walls. I can remember when Shawano used to have guardrails, and it seemed like, at least twice a summer, there'd be like a half-hour delay as they had to weld the guardrail back together after some cars got into it. But they have concrete block walls now, and it's much. I mean, it's much safer having concrete walls. The drivers may not necessarily think that with their cars, though, because concrete is less forgiving than what guardrails are. But
I'd rather hit a concrete wall than guardrail, for sure.
Well, yeah,
for sure. I'd hit both.
Right. I mean, the guardrail, if it comes loose, it can puncture the car, and yeah, I mean, concrete is definitely safer.
For sure. Now we get into the third, and we got 4 of these. Number 3 for the Donkey Award goes to a pit guy. Okay, this goes to a pit guy. Remember, we've seen a couple things, right? We saw Bobby Pierce's pit guy forgot to tighten the lug nuts, right? We saw the 4-wheeler that got hooked to the back of the late model at Bristol, right? This guy here, Kyle Larson's pit guy in the Cup race. He left Bristol to go race Cup naturally, right? I mean, that's his job. That's what he gets paid to do. But the pit guy also gets paid, and they have a piece of aluminum that goes in front of the radiator to warm the engine up to get engine heat in it. Rumor has it things go better when you pull that out. When you take that out before you go to the track, things go a lot more smooth. I think he only made 6 laps, 7 laps, something like that. and he blew up because they forgot to take the deal in front of the radiator to warm it up. They forgot to take that out of there. That don't work really good on a super speedway, Bert.
I've seen that happen on local racing because, sometimes some teams create out of sheet metal, they'll create something that they slide in front of the radiator while the driver's sitting in line for the next race, but you're supposed to take it out before the race starts. And I've seen it happen where they forget to take it out.
That's where Donald Trump comes in. You're fired, right? I mean, that guy's got to be done. I mean, that's just a bonehead move. You can't do that. We're talking about NASCAR, the cream of the crop, the elite, right? And I mean, that's a very expensive mistake, is what that is. Very expensive.
Yes.
And I only had 3, but then I added a 4th. John Tardy texted me this, and he says, "Hey, I got another one." And last week we had some people auditioning for the next Rocky movie. We have another one here today. This guy down in Stanley, North Carolina. Boy, all kinds of stuff going on down in North Carolina, Bert, right? No wonder Richard Petty says, dirt track racing, they're not very professional. Yeah, down there, he's probably right. East Lincoln Speedway, there was a deal. The class is called the Renegade class, is what it was. David Lucas evidently got together with Josh McIntyre. Now, I watched the incident. I found it online on Facebook, and it looked to me like that David Lucas kind of like pinched him, and then they had contact. He ends up spinning around. Well, he stops the guy out, as you can see on the video here, and he just starts throwing haymakers. I mean, he hit him so many times with the right, the guy was just begging for a left, right? But you can see he kind of walked away. He looked at his hand, and they said, yeah, his hand was a little bit beat up from that deal because he's punching the guy in his helmet. It's like, all right, number one, don't be like throwing down at somebody on the racetrack. Number two, if you do, make sure they take their helmet off, right? I mean, like, what are you doing punching a helmet? That's just stupid, bro. Why would you even do such a thing, right? The guy literally just kind of stopped. He flipped him off. He drove off. Like, what an idiot, right? So them are the Donkey Awards for this week's, episode 77. Bert, there's all kinds of stupid people out there, so we just got to make sure we point them out when we see them. It just is what it is, right? So speaking of that, now let's get into who's hot and who's not, right? Because, there's some people that are really on fire, and there's some people that it's like, what in the world are you doing? Why don't we start with who's hot? Bert, who do you have for your 3 drivers that who's hot right now in the racing world?
Not in any particular order, but I have 2 national and then 1 local driver. I would say Devin Moran is on the hot list, as well as Superman. I think those 2 drivers are the top ones right now, with Tim McCready not far behind. But I'll go with Moran and JD because they've won the big money races so far. And locally, I'm going to go with Mike Mullen because he's won 2 modified features at Shawano. Unfortunately, he had the drive shaft break in the late model, but 2 modified wins in 2 weeks at Shawano, and last week was in impressive fashion, doing a lot of passing.
It was, and that car is sexy. That thing is just badass looking. I'm telling you, it just looks fast looking at it. I have for who's hot, I got the same thing. Couple national, I got 1 local guy. We're just not into enough local racing yet to have more than that. But we agreed. I mean, how do you not have Superman? 9 wins on the year. He's leading the win column for late model racing. I think he's over $140,000, or right at $140,000 in winnings. We're not even at the end of April yet. I mean, this guy is absolutely on fire. Last year, he struggled so much. And this year, I mean, he just started off with some momentum over there at the Wild West Tour. Slowed up a little bit in speed weeks, or a lot bit. He struggled during speed weeks, but he's been red hot ever since. The next one I'm going with is T-Mac. You mentioned him. You said, man, he'd probably be the next one. Well, wins in back-to-back weeks, and he's number 1, right? He's leading the points in the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Series. So T-Mac, red hot. And local guy, Alex Williamson. 3 wins back to back to back. He doubled up at the legendary opener at Cedar Lake in the modified. He went, and there's people just dogging him. He's a younger guy, right? So people get on him. Oh, there was no competition at Cedar Lake. It was light. Car coat was down. A big deal. I mean, he didn't beat nobody, blah, 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 right? So he wins, Bert. And in Victory Lane, he's like, man, I heard it all week long. There was nobody there. Well, Rodney Sanders is here tonight, and he's got more wins than anybody's here, and I just beat him. So there. And then, like, he was, like, chip on his shoulder. He was flat all right. I mean, there was a good field of cars there. Jake Tim got second. So Alex Williamson, my local guy, and that was down at the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. They had their opening night, and we're a couple weeks away from the Dairyland Showdown down there, World of Outlaws. So good things happening for the 2020 One to Go show, I guess, regional track of the year down there, the Mississippi Thunder Speedway. Now, let's get into who's not, and I'll let you go first because I actually got some numbers here that will just blow people away. But who are your 3, Bert, on who's not? I think we're going to probably agree on some of this, but let's go ahead.
I'm going to say Brandon Shepard is on the not hot list. I watched the feature, the condensed version of the feature from the World of Outlaw race last week, and I did not see Brandon Shepard anywhere in the picture. So I don't even know where he finished, but he was okay. I mean, he wasn't even in any of the video footage that I saw. And next, I'm gonna go with Dennis Erb, just because you don't hear his name
He's still
at
races?
all.
He's still racing?
Yeah.
All right.
And for my third one, I'm going to go with Mother Nature, because she's been pretty cold these last couple weeks.
Valid. That's a good point. I never thought of that. So I'm going to go with Brandon Shepard. That's my first person on there. And just some numbers there, right? So looking at him, he's got 26 shows, okay? He's got a half a win. He got that split field deal at Cherokee. Top fives, 9 top fives, only 6 podium finishes, right? Out of that, most of them are thirds. He's got that first when they split the field in half, and he got a second at East Bay, his 4th night of the season. Just not good, okay? But is bad, okay, and we're talking, what's crazy about this, Bert? What's crazy about this? He's leading the World of Outlaw points. He's 3rd in the Lucas Oil points. How the hell is that happen? Right? How does that even happen? I don't even get it. Like, how can you be doing that bad? I'm looking at, going 9th, 3rd, 11th, 13th. Then he got a pair of thirds and a 5th, which wasn't bad. And then he won that one. 12th, 8th, 11th, 6th, 20th. Garbage, right? That's not Brandon Shepard numbers, right? That's not the Rocket Shep. The Rocket, I think the fuse went out, I think, on the Rocket Shep is what happened. But here's my next guy. And this guy's doing so terrible that I don't even have a number 3. I'm actually putting him down twice, right? Like, this is how bad he's doing. 26 shows, half a win for this guy, too. He's the other guy that won when they split the field. Bert, out of 26 shows, 3, count them, 3 podiums. 3, that's it, out of 26 shows. In the Lucas Oil Series, which, incidentally, he won last year, right? 12 shows in the Lucas Series, 0 wins, 0 podiums. He only has 5 nights in the top 10. That's it, 5 in the top 10. He's 12th in the points right now. Jimmy Owens is absolutely ice cold. Like, at some point, you've got to be like, what in the world? And both of them guys in Rocket chassis, which have not been good, especially when it's been slippery, when there's been a cushion, some traction, they've been pretty good. And it kind of looking at this, the nights where it was tractioned up is the nights that they did good, right? But they have been absolutely out to lunch. They're missing something there. So B. Shep, Jimmy Owens, this is your wake-up call. I'm telling you, like, I'll be interested to see if one of them two can maybe park in Victory Lane this coming weekend. We'll find out. So speaking of that, let's get to our picks, right? And again, right, we got the big old goose egg this last weekend. Now, in our defense, Bert, Lucas canceled. One of the Woo late models canceled. USMTS canceled. So we had 2 World of Outlaw sprint car races, and we had one late model race. And I know a few of us, me included, we picked Kyle Larson to win one of the World of Outlaw sprint car races, but of course he had to leave because he had to run the cup race, and kind of had to leave and go fly down to go race to run 6-7 laps or so. That was well worth it, right? So that wasn't very good. So we're not doing good on picks, but I don't think we have one right collectively between the five of us in like 4 weeks.
It's been a while, yes.
I mean, like literally, we gotta figure something out here. So we're gonna pick 6 races this week. All right, and we're gonna start with the World of Outlaw late models. Now we're not gonna pick on Friday because they're gonna do that same deal where they split the shows. It's obvious Brandon Shepard's gonna get his other half of the win in one of those. We're not even gonna pick him. It won't be Owens because he's gonna be elsewhere. But we're gonna pick Saturday night, and I'm excited about this race, Bert. I really am. Heading down to Boone, inaugural trip down there for the World of Outlaw late models. It's a bull ring, right? It's fun. It's a cool track. And then the Hawkeye Nationals, I think it's 30 grand to win. Who do you have for Boone for the World of Outlaws on Saturday night?
Well, first I want to say it's unfortunate that the World of Outlaws and the Lucas Lates are racing the same weekend, because it would have been cool to see Ricky Thornton Jr. race there with his long history of racing in IMCA competition. So that's disappointing, because he would have been my pick if he would have been racing there.
Yes.
But I am going to go with is maybe a surprise, but he's been running better lately. Ricky Weiss.
Weiss. All right. You know what? I would like to see that. He's a homer. I'm a homer, right? He's one of our northern guys here. I'm going to take the squirrel, Brian Shirley. That's who I'm going to take. Now, do I even know if he's going to be there? No, but there's no Lucas Oil MLRA. There's no Mars. There's really nothing else in the area. Boone is not that far. I mean, it's close, right, to Illinois. So I'm thinking you're going to get the Gundakers and the Simpsons, and I can see, all them guys being there. So I'm taking Brian Shirley. He's good on them little bull rings like that. You're mod guy, right? RTJ is not going to be there. There is another mod guy, right? Kyle Strickler. That's who Jeff took. He's taking Strickler.
Okay.
He said that Brandon Shepard is going to win this weekend. It just is what it is. And Pete agrees with you, Ricky Weiss. So with that said, none of these guys are going to win because we picked them. They're all screwed. All right. So I'm curious to see who it's going to be. So I got Shirley. You have Weiss, Strickler for Jeff, Bishop for Keith, and Pete has Weiss. Now, let's jump to the Lucas Oil late models. They got a doubleheader this week. Supposed to have one last week. Mother Nature won both. They're going to be down in Kentucky, Ponderosa on Friday, and one of my favorite tracks right now, Florence on Saturday. Okay. So, who do you have? Let's start with Ponderosa.
I am going with Superman.
He ain't been very good this year, but that's okay. We'll put him down anyway. So Bert has Superman. He's already at 9. He could be the first to hit double-digit wins. I'm going to go with the other guy that's been red hot. I'm going with T-Mac. And Jeff's going with RTJ. Keith agrees with you. He's taking JD on night number 1. And Pete is taking Devin Moran. Now, down to Florence in this track here. I just love watching races at Florence. I've seen 3 this year. There ain't been a bad one. They've all been fun to watch. Who do you got at Florence?
I'm going to take your favorite driver. I'm taking Jimmy Owens.
The O show. And Jeff is going to take T-Mac. Keith is sticking with JD. And Pete is taking JD. I'm taking a local hero down there. I'm taking Josh Rice to shock the world. He has been very fast at Florence. So if maybe he can get her done.
This is a race that he lost by inches to Earl Pearson Jr. last year. This is a track and the same race on the schedule.
Yeah, so I'm excited to see that, and I'm kind of pulling for that local boy. Now let's talk some sprint cars. There's 3 World of Outlaw sprint car races. I don't know how the format works, Bert, for the Friday night deal, because I don't know if they're doing the split deal. If it is, it is. But if it is, if it happens to be the split deal, I couldn't find it online. If they win either feature, we'll count it, okay? But we'll go to Thursday night first, which is cool. Jacksonville. Jeff is he's sticking with it. He says, I'm going to keep taking him at least once a week until he hits it. He's taking the 10-time champ, Donnie Schatz. Keith is going to say that David Gravel is going to stay on a hot streak. Pete's taking Carson Macedo. Who do you got?
I'm saying history will be made, and Donnie Schatz will get number 300.
Donnie Schatz, and I'm taking the big cat, Brad Sweet. Now, I-70, okay? The first night at I-70, I'm sticking with the big cat all the way through. I got Brad Sweet all 3 nights, okay? And Keith has David Gravel all 3 nights. Pete changed it up a little bit. He took Sheldon Hodenschild to win the first night at I-70. Who do you got?
Macedo.
Carson Macedo. And Jeff is kind of throwing us a curveball here. Nothing's announced, right? They said the NASCAR race is in Kansas City, I believe, this weekend, which ain't too far away. He's like, I have a feeling that Kyle Larson is going to surprise everybody, stop in and win. So he's taking Kyle Larson. I'm like, interesting. Okay. So not only did he take him for the first night, he just went straight up. He's taking Kyle Larson both nights. I'm starting to wonder if maybe he knows something that we don't know. Keith took Gravel both nights. I took Sweet, of course. And Pete, he's taking James McFadden. And who are you taking for night 2 at I-70?
Brad Sweet.
You're taking Brad Sweet. Now, I really feel bad for literally everybody that we just mentioned because the chance of you winning is just, you're screwed. The way that we're picking them over the last month, like there ain't none of these guys even has a pair to win a race this weekend. We apologize, right? Collectively as a group, we apologize for jinxing you, but it is what it is. You're going to have to overcome adversity. So, Bert, let's get to the last lap. Little news on Shane Clanton. What happened there?
He's going to be following the Lucas Oil Series. He's going to be following it for now, but I read an article about his decision, and his wife has been sick. So, I mean, he said that his family is his number one priority. So he said he chose Lucas because they have less races on their schedule, or there's more off time than what the World of Outlaw schedule offers. And so that's why he chose the Lucas Tour. And I mean, it is possible if he needs to take care of his wife that he may not follow the Lucas Tour either.
Right. Well, yeah, hopefully hopefully everything goes well for her, and that's good for the Lucas series that he's following. Bad for the World of Outlaws, of course, because, they don't want to lose any more drivers. Now, another thing that happened this last weekend, the Repairable Vehicles Tri-State Late Model Series got underway down in Norfolk, Nebraska at the Off-Road Speedway. Tad Pospisil, your opening night winner. And you probably didn't get a chance to watch that, did you?
No, I didn't.
I actually have that. I have a link to that. I can send it over so you can take a peek. That was actually on, it ended up being on IMCA TV. It was on there, but there's another channel. They kind of all tied together through Speed Sport there. Now, another thing that happened this last weekend is we got the power rankings, of course, right? The buyraceshirts.com wanted to go show power rankings, and we have a guy up in the top 10 that I think he's going to be a contender for the national championship. He's going to be up there. And Brad gave me some grief last week. He's like, how come my guy ain't in there? It's like, well, I don't know where to put him, right? Who do I take out? I mean, I could take this guy out maybe, but right now this guy is your current Wissota late model national point leader. Huge win opening night of the Wissota season. He headed westward. He went out to Sheridan, Wyoming, and just class of the field, a big field. He beat the other 2 guys. That was pretty good. Yes, I said that correctly. 3 cars. He was so devastated. He's like, man, he goes, if I win this whopping 3-car feature, am I going to move up in the power rankings? I'm like, well, no. But if you don't win the 3-car feature, I'm dropping you to like 40th. And so in all honesty, hats off Cole Searing, and the thing is, the way the national points works, Bert, you take your top 30 shows, right? And the only difference between like 30 cars and winning and 3 cars and winning is 2 points. So this is basically like getting a second place finish the way the points works with a full car count. So who's the joke really on? People are like, oh yeah, you won a 3-car feature, and he's thinking, I took advantage, right? I mean, everybody else had the opportunity to go. It was a double header. The features rained out the nenext day. They got a makeup, which he probably ain't gonna be able to go to because casino's gonna be open by then. But he's starting out the season with a 110-point show, 112 is the max, and it's almost like giving him a head start. Like, well, here we're gonna give you one keeper show for your top 30 to start the season, and that's really what he got. So I will say this: the fact that he drove 8 hours out to Sheridan to race the opening weekend shows he's hungry. And there's other people that maybe are fast, but they're just not hungry, and that hunger is gonna that's gonna have my attention on him all year long. So Cole Searing, winner there, and let's talk about our events coming up. Is there anything else that you have before we get to our upcoming events? Is there anything else that you have that maybe you want to touch on?
No, I mean, no, because I'm going to touch on in our next segment. I'm going to touch on what I was going to say. So
Perfect. So there's a lot of racing coming up. I mean, I sent a list of Bird, and it was a mile long of all the Wissota non-sanctioned, the stuff in eastern Wisconsin, right? A lot of national events out there. I mean, not only is the World of Outlaw sprint cars, but we have the All-Star Circuit of Champions Tony Stewart Series. They're racing, I think, 3 nights this weekend. The Southern Nationals is racing. Southern All-Stars is racing. All kinds of stuff going on, right? What are your number 1 3 shows that you think is must-see TV?
I'm gonna go with number 1. I'm gonna go with the World of Outlaws racing at Boone. Boone is a sacred place in the IMCA world. So I was thinking about this today. It kind of comparing it to when NASCAR went to Indianapolis for the first time. NASCAR had, never raced at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and then they went there. So, it's like, a new organization is coming into the IMCA world and racing at the Mecca for IMCA racing.
Yeah, you're right on the money there. What do you got next?
Next, I'm gonna go with the Plymouth Opener in Plymouth, Wisconsin, not Plymouth, Indiana, or Ohio, or wherever that is.
I enjoy watching that World of Outlaw race they had last year at Plymouth was good. Mm-hmm. The Battle Royale that they had at the Dirt King show was very entertaining as well. So
I mean, I'm looking forward for Plymouth to open because I'm interested to see what late model drivers will be racing there. There's about 5 or so drivers who normally race at Plymouth who were at Shawano's opener for the Dirt Kings race, but I know there's more than those 5 drivers that'll be racing late models. So I'm curious to see who else will be racing late models in eastern Wisconsin. And, this is the opportunity for drivers to get races and get wins and make a name for themselves.
Move on up in our power rankings a little bit there. Now, let me ask you this. So we obviously know Boone is streamed. Is Plymouth streamed? Do they stream that event? Is there any video coverage for that?
I mean, as far as I know, unless it changed in the off season, there is no official streaming. I know we got to watch the Battle Royale last year, the Dirt Kings race, because somebody in the stands had recorded it, and we were able to watch it that way.
Can you get a hold of Chad and see if maybe he knows if somebody's going to be videotaping that, because it'd be kind of cool to be able to watch that feature as well. To kind of keep.
I can contact them. Yeah.
The Eastern Wisconsin guys. What do you got for number 3?
And number 3, I mean, I'll be a homer again. I'm going to go Shawano Speedway just from the fact that they are going to have a tribute to Bobby Bennett, who passed away a week ago. We talked about him on the show last week, and he helped get racing. He was part of the group that helped get racing started in Shawano Speedway in the very beginning. And I mean, he raced into the 2000s. So, I mean, that's how long he raced. So they're going to have a tribute to him. and I haven't heard anything official yet, other than Brad stating that there's going to be a lot of Bennett's there. So I'm guessing that they're going to bring their race cars with them, because a lot of the Bennett's race on, well, some of them race on asphalt. So I'm assuming that they're even going to bring their asphalt cars and at least take them around for the national anthem or something. Like I said, I don't have any official word that that's going to happen, but that's what I'm kind of guessing.
I'm gonna put you on the spot here. We already got you picked for Boone. We already got that. You picked Ricky Weiss. Give me just for the late models, or any class. Just pick one winner, somebody that's a lock to win at Plymouth, and somebody that's a lock to win at Shawano.
A lock to win at Plymouth. I am gonna go with Justin Ritchie.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Well,
that's a good pick. I mean, he's got to be new, right? He's got to be.
Well, I would actually go with Justin Schmidt because he won the majority of the features there last year, but as he doesn't have a motor yet as of last week. So he's been waiting for his motor from his engine guy, according to his Facebook post. I mean, last week he posted that he was even looking to rent the motor. I mean, he's kind of getting desperate.
Yeah, that'd be a crappy way to lose a championship that you don't have a motor. So somebody's got to give him something. Dude, all right, if you're watching this, I don't care if you got to put a street stock motor in, go get the points, right? It doesn't need to be anything special. Go get last, right? Last place points is better than no points. So he's got to do something. And how about a Chano?
I'm going to go with Nick. I didn't pick him opening week, so I'm going to pick him this week. He tends, I mean, there's no extra money on the line as far as I know, but he tends to win races when the spotlight is shining. So I'll go with Nick.
All right, so you're taking that C+ guy, Nick Anwlick. And my 3 events of the week, I'm really looking forward to the Lucas race at Florence. Like I said, I mean, that's an on the pump, high side hustling, slide job and crossover and moisture in the track. Just fun to watch. I obviously picked Josh Rice to win that one. I also picked Boone, which incidentally, our area fans, I know Jimmy Mars is heading down there. Be interesting to see if, maybe Taylor Scheffler, maybe, or some of the other guys. I don't know if they are, but you'd think something that close. Maybe there'd be a few other guys from the area heading down. But at Boone, who the heck did I pick? Oh, I picked the Squirrel, Brian Shirley, to win that one. Now, locally, a race that I'm looking forward to, the doubleheader. They're opening up at the I-94 Sure Step Speedway up in Fergus Falls. Lates mods, supers, Midwest mods, street stocks. I think short tractors are there. Full field of cars. My lock to win a race over there. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to call this guy out, and he was a little bit butthurt that I don't have him in the top 10 of the power rankings. I'm going to go with Cruiser. Jeff Krause, calling you out. You're winning one of the 2 over there at the I-94 Sure Step Speedway this weekend. Another race, Bert, that I really quickly wanted to, that I literally forgot that it's even happening, but up at the North Central Speedway in Brainerd, they're having the Ron Johnson Memorial. Tim Johnson's dad passed away. I think it was over the winter. They're putting together a memorial race for him, and they upped the purse in pretty much, I think, all the classes. I know the supers are 1,001. So I think there's gonna be a pretty good field of cars over in Brainerd. That's on Dirt Race Central. Shawano, so just kind of go through this. Shawano, if you can't make it there, if you can make it there, it's always better, fans, if you can make it to the track. It's always better. Okay, we want to make sure we encourage you to go. But if you can't go to Shawano, Mike's video on Facebook, he does a great job. Costs nothing. You can jump on there and check out the action. Plymouth, we're going to find out. Of course, Boone, that is Dirt Vision. The Florence race, the Lucas Oil race, that's going to be MAV Plus. You'll be able to find it on there. And then, of course, the North Central race and the one at I-94 Sure Step Speedway, that's on Dirt Race Central. Watch drc.tv. And speaking of must-see events, Bert, Thursday night, What's happening
Oh,
Thursday night? Huh?
yeah. The
We haven't
NFL
even
draft.
talked about this for a while with the NFL draft. I gotta be honest. I don't. Are they doing virtual or are they doing in person this year? What are they doing? Have you heard?
I think it's in person because I thought I read somewhere that the commissioner okayed hugging.
Oh, yeah, air hug, air hug. Come on, yeah. If they start banning air hugs, that would be even more awkward. That's more awkward than an air hug is banning air hugs, right? But that's something I look forward to every year. I mean, obviously, we're all dirt track fans here and whatever, and dirt track racing is better than any other form of entertainment. But I like it. I'm a fan of the NFL draft because I mean, it's cool that all these kids, right, that have put their whole life into trying to be great at what they do. In an instant, their life has changed, right? They are instant millionaires, bam, like that. So pretty cool to see that, and some of them pan out, some of them not so much, right?
Yep.
But I guess we'll find out. But between with the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Racing on Thursday, that'll be the number one priority. But then number two will be the NFL draft. We'll be kind of keeping an eye on the Minnesota Vikings, and I'm pretty sure the Packers are probably taking a quarterback in the first round just to make Aaron Rodgers happy, right? That's what they did last year.
Maybe.
We'll see what happens. So, Bert, I tell you what, you're going to head over to the track there this weekend.
Yes.
And I'm about a week away from heading to a track. I'm going to go down with my buddy Dave to LaSalle to the Thaw Brawl. Knock on wood, it already postponed once, right? But I'm looking forward to that myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is episode number 77 of the One to Go Show. Again, reach out. If you're a driver out there, you need some parts, get a hold of Ron, get a hold of Trevor over at Dirt Track Supply. They'll take good care of you. If you need apparel, if you're a race team, you're looking for t-shirts, get a hold of Jordan. Both of these, For Racers, By Racers, get a hold of him, buyraceshirts.com. Also Outlaw Graphics, and they'll take good care of you too. So, Bert, as always, it's always fun talking racing. We could do this for 3-4 more hours. But fans, I'm Ryan Hale. That is the Bert Lehman. And what's Puka always say?
Go out and be your dream.
There you go. Thanks for tuning into the One to Go Show.